You're watching Let the Quran Speak. I'm Safiyyah, your host. Gaza is burning, and for nearly 2 years, Muslim nations have spoken words of solidarity but done little else. We'll be looking at that now. With me is Dr. Shabir Ally. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
There's a genocide happening in Gaza, Dr. Shabir. Everybody knows it. But very little is being done by Muslim nations. Right now, people are being forced to evacuate from Gaza City. And it's a very difficult process because people are going into the unknown. Basically, they're leaving whatever safety they have in Gaza City, which is not very much, by the way. They don't have a lot of food, a lot of resources. They don't have safe places to stay. And they're being pushed out of that circumstance into even more of an unknown. Just the way there is so dangerous. You know, you could get killed at any moment. The transportation there is so expensive. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. To find a tent, a new tent in the new place that you were settled in is also more than $1,000. To find land to settle your tent on is another $1,500 a month, maybe. And then there's a question of food, right? People are going long distances, sometimes walking without any food. My sister-in-law actually told me yesterday that her cousin was killed just yesterday. She was very distressed when she communicated with me, and she said that her cousin was killed. He got a car. He finally secured a car because it's expensive and difficult to find. So he was driving in the car to go and pick up his wife and children to get to the south, to drive to the south. And in the process, he was struck by an airstrike, and he was gone immediately. He was only 31 years old. Now his wife and children are kind of left on their own. I don't know how they're going to make it down to the south. Hopefully they still will. But it's such a miserable circumstance. It's basically a genocide. And at the same time, we have all these Muslim nations surrounding Gaza, very, very close, right? And they are not doing anything. So it's a very distressing situation, especially because, Dr. Shabir, what happened with Qatar, and the reaction seems so lukewarm. It's like, okay, you've been attacked by Israel, but you're still not going to do anything. So I want to get your thoughts on that, Dr. Shabir.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about your sister-in-law's cousin.
Thank you.
May Allah have mercy on him and give him Jannah, paradise, and give patience to all of those who are grieving for his loss. And that includes me as well. And it's so strange that I'm just hearing it from you now. I wish you had told me earlier.
There's too many things happening. Every moment you hear something else, it's almost difficult to process it. You don't really know how to go about your life, you know?
Yeah. And, it's almost like this is becoming normalized even in our own minds because, under normal circumstances, certainly you would have called me and let me know, Dad, my sister-in-law's cousin passed away. And we would have made dua for him. We might have recited some Quran and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the blessings to him. But we've done it again and again. If for so many of your relatives already, it looks like it's in your own mind, it's become like, okay, so it's happened again. And maybe before long, another occasion will happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of the people of Gaza and protect especially your relatives, our relatives. Who are there. So coming back to your question of, for our discussion, so we can include everyone, it's not just between father and daughter here. It's a sad situation. And if we just recount all of the steps that have led to this and the number of violations of international law that have occurred, from the one entity, this is, it's mind-boggling that nobody does anything. I mean, you mentioned the Muslim world, but let's think about the broader situation. Like, what has Canada done besides talk and recognizing the state of Palestine or saying that we will recognize the state of Palestine? I don't even know if it's happened yet, but we want to see action on the ground. And when is this action going to take place? Like, let's recount the humanitarian and the violations of humanitarian laws and international law, occupying another country illegally. This is contrary to international law, so the occupation has got to be ended. Getting illegal settlements in the occupied territories. This is illegal. But this continues unabated. Now, attacking Gaza in such a way that civilians are not safe, this is contrary to international law and humanitarian laws. According to just war theory, if you go into war for a just cause, there has to be civilian immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you should not enter into the war because the cost is too high. Nearly 70,000 people have been killed. And this is the number that's coming out of the hospital system,
Mm-hmm.
which means that, the person was brought to the hospital and pronounced dead at the hospital. We don't know how many more have been, dead and buried elsewhere. They didn't reach the hospital, so they're not part of the count.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how many thousands more are under the rubble, unaccounted for.
Yes.
So we're just dealing with the close to 70,000 that has been reported from the hospitals. So with this large number of people dead, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, this is a body of scholars from around the world who specialize in studying and investigating like what constitutes a genocide. They have declared that this is a genocide going on in Gaza. A United Nations body recently ruled as well that this is a genocide going on. So with all of this, no stop, and nobody is putting an effort to do something concrete about it. Okay, look about the choking off of food supply and medical supply and so on. The on and off of electricity and all of the basic humanitarian needs.
Water.
Look at water.
Access to water. They haven't had it for a very long time.
Yeah. Look at the images of starving, emaciated children that we are seeing with just simply, skin and bones. In the case of one funeral that I saw on Al Jazeera television, as they wrap the baby for burial, and it looks like it's just a stick wrapped in this cloth, right? So what's remaining of the children there of Gaza being starved like this? So the choking off of humanitarian supplies and especially food, the forced malnutrition and famine. This is all contrary to international law. Now, the forced migration of people is contrary to international law. These are gross violations. And look how many times it has been done, from the north to the south, from the south to the middle, back to Gaza City, from Gaza City back to the south.
We've had relatives some of whom have individually changed spots like 10 times, and that's normal for them.
Yeah, they've been reduced to a Bedouin lifestyle from tent to tent. So how could this be allowed to happen? Look, the killing of journalists and other people of the press, the killing of medics, even people of religion, serving in their churches or whatever. Churches have been attacked. Mosques have been demolished. High-rise apartment buildings have been demolished. So with all of this, nobody intervenes. And now where the attack has been made on Qatar, and Qatar called together a coalition of other forces from the region and other Muslim states.
I believe it was like an Arab Islamic Emergency Summit. It was called something like this.
Yes. And they talked, and in the end, no concrete resolution. The strongest voice we saw was that of Ahmadinejad, who said there should be punitive measures. Now, of course, we are discussing this from a religious point of view on this show. And from a religious point of view, let me remind our viewers of a book I mentioned previously, a book entitled When God Says War is Right by Darrell Cole. Now, one of the stipulations that Darrell Cole mentioned as one of the stipulations of just war is that a just war may be for the purpose of correcting an aggressor by enacting punitive measures against the aggressor. So, especially in retaliation to something that the aggressor has done and needs to stop, so that everyone knows that this is not acceptable. So, unless something like this is done, like what is the message being given to the world? Like, you do what you want, especially one particular nation can do whatever it wants, and nobody will be able to stop that nation.
Yeah, and not only in Gaza, but like in so many other countries. It has attacked Syria, it has attacked Iran, Qatar, Lebanon, right?
And Yemen, and so on. Yeah, so
repeatedly,
obviously,
nothing has happened.
Aggression like this needs to be curtailed. And when the sovereignty of a nation has been violated by this external attack, Qatar would be in its within its rights to retaliate. And it's noble of them to say we want peace and we want the negotiation process to continue. That's quite noble. But here you're saying, okay, we still want to negotiate with the nation which is killing the negotiator, right? Trying to kill the negotiator. That shows that the other nation doesn't really want negotiations here, and it's not looking for peace. It's looking for a total devastation. But still, okay, it's still noble to pursue the negotiation, that let the negotiations continue, but at the same time, teach the aggressor a lesson. And if you cannot do that, then this shows the abject failure of the Muslim states and the Muslim powers to protect themselves, to protect the weak and the downtrodden. And Muslims have a mandate in the Quran to protect the widows, the orphans, the children, the weak, the oppressed people, whether they be Muslims or non-Muslims. Mm-hmm. And if they're Muslims, this doubles the responsibility. So where are the Muslim states? Where are the Muslim powers? And why is it that we have become so helpless? I think Muslims have to have a lot of introspection here. And we need to come back to our roots, be serious about our religion. And the Muslim governments have to be honest to the people. Are they there in government only for their own purposes, or are they there for the people?
Thank you for that, Dr. Shabir. There's really nothing more to say, so I leave it at that. And hopefully these world leaders do heed our message.
Inshallah, we pray to Allah for the best outcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiyyah and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.